Hello, this is Desiree here. I am Desiree Miller, the co-founder of Herbal Birthkeeping Doula Training, as well as the Pennsylvania Birthkeeper. I'm going to talk today a little bit about the end of pregnancy, more so the energetical and spiritual aspects, things at the end of pregnancy maybe to be mindful of to protect yourself, your mindset, and your birth space. So first of all, the end of pregnancy is a whole different journey in itself. Pregnancy is its journey, but I also say that the end of pregnancy is a whole different thing, especially for those that end up going over 40 weeks. It can be an emotionally shifting thing, and I personally believe it is necessary for the transition for going from, not being a mother to being a mother, or going from being a mother of one to being a mother of two, or so on and so forth. That shift, that time frame is so impactful and is a spiritual journey, whether people seem to realize it or not. I find that a lot of people will have complications near the end, not really physical, more so emotional, mental, or life complications that pop up, things like that. And I feel that these complications are not for nothing. We are to endure these things to prepare us for this new life, be it whatever it is. Excuse me. The different things that we endure impact our mindset and the way that we perceive life, the way that we are going to welcome our baby, etc. When we go through hard things, that makes us stronger. Makes sense. So that makes us stronger as a person for this when this person arrives, that we can care for them. Some of the physical aspects at the end of pregnancy that help transition us into this new phase of motherhood, or maybe into motherhood for the first time, would be like, say, waking in the middle of the night. Near the end of pregnancy, we end up waking many times, be it to have to pee, or discomfort, or we have spasms, or we wake to contractions, prodromal labor, things like that. That is very common. And I firmly believe that we are woken in the night to prepare us for when this baby arrives, because we will be waking many times at night. So we go through this transition phase, and that can be challenging. But it's important to keep in mind that your mindset is so key in all of this. If you are thinking negatively or feeling depressed, things like that, those things should really be addressed, because there is a thing called mental manifestation. If you fixate on one thing for so long, you can manifest for those things to occur. For example, say a woman is like, oh, I'm so afraid about my blood pressure. Like, what if it goes too high and I have to be induced and blah, blah, blah. So she starts checking it every single day, documenting all her stuff, writing it all down, and she watches her numbers get higher. As she's obsessing, she is causing these things to occur. The same thing can be for cesareans. I'm so afraid I'm going to have a cesarean. They're speaking these words, they're thinking these thoughts, and then they're causing their outcome. Of course, there are other factors, there are always other variables, but we can impact our outcome with the things we say, the things that we think. Some ways to kind of shift our mental place, if it would be in a poor place, would be things such as meditation. Some people enjoy yoga, things like that bring us peace and center us back to ourselves and reconnect us with our intuition. That's really where we should be, not fixated on things that are fear-led or trauma-based. All of these things can be worked through. There's different processes for each. I always say that fear is easier to address than trauma, because trauma, you can't really replace the knowledge there, whereas fear, you can replace that fear with acquired knowledge. How do I address this? If this happens, how will I manage it? And then once you work past that, it's like, oh, I'm not afraid of that. If those things would happen, I know how to address them, instead of obsessing over these possibilities. Another thing that I see is people will become fixated on things at the end of pregnancy based on what they heard from someone, maybe a traumatic story, a traumatic event that happened in their birth or their friend's birth, or Bobby Joe Sue, who gave birth 25 years ago and her baby and her died, and blah, blah, blah. Crazy stuff. As well as the things that they see. So say you are on social media, you're in these birth groups and you see this birth video, and it's so traumatic, and the baby needs resuscitated and was just yanked out, and it's just, all these crazy things. Those kind of things can sit in the back of our mind at the end of pregnancy, and then they come out to play during labor, because that's when we're vulnerable. So say we're in labor and we are experiencing something that looks similar to that video we saw, that really scary video where things are super traumatic. We see this happen, and then we feel something similar, and it taps in our mind, that memory, boop, and then you remember that, and you go, oh, wow. So then you're in this moment of labor. things are chaotic in your mind because you did not release those things that you had seen, or maybe fixated on them, or thought of them as possibilities for your birth. So with these kind of things, I always say that we should be watching what we see and what we hear. If someone is a negative Nancy in your life, maybe your aunt, your grandma, it's usually the mother-in-laws, whoever, your friend, whatever, if they are starting to speak negatively or sharing poor stories or anything like that, now is not the time to hear those. And it is not disrespectful for you to shut down them and their chatter and their stories and ask them to please be respectful of your mind space, because it is very important for you to keep that clear. Because if not, it can sway you from your intuition and replace your, how do I put it, your natural instinctual guide with fear. We don't want to do that. You can always hear their stories once you give birth, but we want to keep that mind space pure, open, positive, and full of only positive stories, really, in that time. So in that kind of scenario, I suggest staying away from people who are going to be negative or don't support your choice. Or if it's things online, videos, maybe unfollow those groups. Myself, I was in a lot of unassisted groups before my births, especially my last two, my two free birth babies, and I had to unfollow all of them. First of all, there's a lot of uneducated people there, and it was frustrating, and it would really mess with my energy, but also the poor outcomes or different things, like transfer, etc., complication. I did not need to see that. There was nothing about that I needed to see. I needed to keep my mind space clear and well, and I did. And I really suggest that for everyone, every other person who plans to give birth at home, even in the hospital. Really, our mindset should really be clear so that our intuition can be primary. This transition into motherhood is such a beautiful journey, and different for every woman I work with. Different kind of emotions, different feelings, all of that. It's always different for everybody, and it's different for each individual pregnancy, no matter how many you have. But it's so important to watch your mind space and watch what you mentally manifest, watch your thoughts, correct them, be mindful of all of the above, because you don't want those things to manifest or to come out and play in labor. So yeah, that's basically what I've got to say about the end of pregnancy.